Hello, my fellow people. It's New Year's Eve and I'm a bit sick, but I've got some serious things to ponder that could change New Frontier craft forever. It's not a few serious things, it's just one large idea. And that idea is moving New Frontier craft to modern Minecraft. Now you might be asking, why in God's name would we do that? Well, what we'd be doing is we'd be using Modern's engine. We wouldn't be using Modern. What we'd be doing is taking Modern's engine and transforming it into beta on the surface. So it's basically just beta on the surface, but beneath is actually just entirely modern. And develop New Frontier craft off that. That simple sentence, that simple idea right there implicates all kinds of crazy stuff that I'm going to talk about in this video, and then we're going to have a vote at the end. I want to see you guys' idea in general of what you think of this and which do you think would be better. And it will matter. I mean, seeing what everyone on this channel thinks will matter quite a lot to me on what I should do here. I kind of have an idea of what I'm going to do right now, but I'm not going to hint at that. And I'm going to try to present both these sides as evenly as I can. And I'll switch back and forth between the two, so it's not like I say one and then I'm like, well, then this. You know, I'm trying to give a decently equal sides here. So we're going to start with a couple advantages this would bring. Development would be a lot faster in the long run. Using Forge that's probably going to be the platform I use, and I mean, there's going to be so much more documentation. It's going to be so much easier to figure out what I have to change. I expect moving to Modern, and after I've learned everything, we're going to have like possibly a 20 to like maybe even 40% increase in speed overall, depending on how much easier it actually is, because I have no idea what modding multiplayer might be like. On making it'll make development faster. Another advantage is the support for trying to get this mod built is going to be a lot stronger, because now I'll be able to converse with people who mod on Modern and get actual help for continuing New Frontier Craft's development if I run into issues. You know, I'm going to have a lot more help on Modern forums, and people who help people making Forge mods are, you know, up to date. They're on 24/7. They're pretty helpful, so I've heard. And along with this, outside of development being easier, is you guys installing New Frontier Craft is going to be a lot easier. Instead of trying to go into, you know, the directory and modify the jar and then set up a New Frontier Craft, blah, blah, blah. And that possibly getting more complicated in the future if I want to add in more mods. Like, if I want to add in Better Than Wolves, I just want to use this code, but I can't just be like, well, I'm just going to throw out New Frontier Craft. You'd have to install that mod too. Stuff like that. In Forge, everything's easy. You just take the jars, you just take the New Frontier Craft jar and have Forge installed, throw it into a folder, done. Yes. It's going to take you like 30 seconds to install it outside of downloading. But now let's go to beta. So this would be a much better option if I would have considered this more seriously about a year or two ago, when I had a really hard time getting around in the beta code. But now I'm decently familiar with beta code. Even with the bucket code, which is it's hardly documented, it's hardly gives you any help. Basically, the only help you have is the names of the classes. But I've gotten a system that's decent enough that it's not as much as an issue anymore, because I've gotten pretty familiar even in current beta's bucket code, which is, you know, again, most of the functions within the classes are just numbers and letters. But I'm starting to get familiar with it, and coding has gotten a lot faster for just moving stuff to updating multiplayer. Before, that was a long time, but now, not as much. And time is short for me, as you no, I mean, I'm in college now, and time is much shorter for me. This next semester, after I've done this break, is going to be a lot more intense, and I really don't think I'll be working on New Frontier Craft this next semester. So that means you'll have to wait until summer. And taking on trying to beta-ize, and I'll keep using that word, beta-ize modern, is going to be a decent project in and of itself. Now, there's people who have made projects for making modern into beta on the surface. Some people have gotten as far as you can almost tell no difference at all. But that was for mod loader. And I mean, I could use this code, but it's for like modern 1.5, and I'd have to update that. I'd have to somehow bring it to Forge. I mean, there's stuff for Forge that does beta-ize modern, but not to the extent of really fully beta-izing modern, just kind of like terrain stuff and whatnot. So I'm still going to have to do a decent amount of work on beta-izing modern, and at the same time, I'm going to have to learn the new platform. I'm going to have to learn Forge. I'm going to have to learn how modern Minecraft works. I know a small amount because of taking code out, but that's all I've learned is certain places in the code where I want code to take out and put in a beta that I've been doing. So there would be some learning, and there probably would be a decent amount of working on beta-izing modern. But for modern's case, a couple of just mixture of things like bug fixes. There's going to be less exploits because modern is a lot more secure. It's probably going to have better stability. It's probably going to run faster on most computers. The graphics are more modern. If I keep New Frontier Craft up to date with modern Minecraft, you know, they're there to fix bugs. They're there to keep hackers from getting past security and exploits, and that's not the case for beta. Now, in beta's case, Bucket Beta, what I'm developing it on, New Frontier Craft's multiplayer on, actually has a lot of exploits in beta fixed. Of course, there's a few that are not fixed, and of course in modern, there's a few exploits still that are not fixed. There's always going to be some exploits somewhere. But, I mean, the Bucket Beta we're using right now is still decently secure, mostly now that I have, you know, real authentication using the modern servers. I mean, all you have to do is throw on a whitelist, and if anyone's acting up, kick them off. They can't get back on. And tests so far that I've done on modern versus beta is beta doesn't run that much, or actually, I've actually seen beta run a little bit better than modern so far on my laptop. Until you install Optifine on modern, then that changes the game, and Optifine will probably be installed with New Frontier Craft on modern. So Optifine beta versus Optifine modern. Modern, I think, works a little bit better. But still, it's just a couple of slight differences that I've seen so far in performance on my laptop. So far, performance isn't too big of an issue. Also stepping into modern, the modern community is pretty toxic, I hear. I mean, you do definitely find servers in modern that are totally peaceful. Everyone works together well, and hackers can do almost nothing. And it feels pretty safe. And of course, I mean, that's one side of modern. The other side of modern are intense hackers. There are people who are absolutely crazy. And, you know, Minecraft is massive. And a lot of people who like to hack have gone into modern. And we would be kind of stepping our feet into that area. I mean, we've already been hacked by people who know beta. But beta is a lot less familiar than modern. So people who are used to hacking in modern are going to come to beta or New Frontier Craft, not just beta. I'm going to be like, whoa, what? You'd have to know some pretty good Java to really try to hurt New Frontier Craft. Which, again, we did have one person like that, but there's a lot of them in modern Minecraft. Now, in defense of modern, I'm sorry guys, but the beta wave is just dying out. There was a massive wave of people that came back to beta, and that wave is over. But there's still a pretty stable amount of people that still play beta today. But it's small. And updating to modern is probably going to appeal a lot more to the general population of just everyone. Because in modern, you've got your modern plugins, You know, you're not stuck in beta where the plugins are no longer updated, security is no longer updated. In modern, now you have all these new plugins that you can install. In beta, we're trying to build, you know, archives of plugins that we can find and that people are trying to contribute, and because we're just kind of scrounging up everything we can get in terms of plugins, because that's all we got. I mean, maybe if New Frontiercraft gets popular, people will come back to beta and develop stuff for that, but as of now, no. In modern, though, you got new stuff coming out every day. New stuff for servers, new plugins, blah, blah, blah. It's all there because that's where everyone is. Another interesting thing that I've heard from one of the NFC admins is I've heard that modern is almost impossible to grief with putting in plugins and you know, new procedures they have now. It's really, really hard to do any damage to a world. You can so easily roll back things. So in general, it's probably going to attract more people if we're on modern. But in beta's case, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe staying in beta and being authentically beta will attract more people in the long run. It'll attract more people like me. You know, just it being on beta is a different feeling than it being on modern engine and on the surface being beta. You know, I might not catch everything that's in modern that has changed in my attempt to betaize modern that I may never fix, that will always be there and just kind of like a peek through from modern. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I'm looking at that I'm going to have to change, like the lighting system's totally different. Just how the blocks are rendered are different. Everything looks a lot like mushy and smoother in modern, and in beta it's a lot more coarse and textured. And that's not just because textures, that's just because how some things are rendered in modern. So, I mean, perhaps I can fully make modern look like beta, and it's not going to feel any different in the long run. But again, that's in the long run. I have no idea how long it might take me to fully betaize modern on a modern version, and it not just be the old world gen, it not just be how old beta looked. It is basically beta on modern's engine, and I have no idea what kind of task that will be, but looking at it so far, it's looking to be decently large, and I'm not sure if I'm willing to put as much time and effort in just doing that for my current amount of time and my interest in New Frontiercraft. I mean, New Frontiercraft was a burning passion of mine for a while, but you guys all know it's not up there as much anymore. I'm still working on it. It's still something I want to see happen, but I'm going to finish up 1.8.5 on beta, and then I'll decide this whole modern beta thing, looking at what you guys have to say and what the admins think. But depending on how people start liking 1.8.5, I'm not sure if I'll keep going on with New Frontiercraft. I'm in college now, and if New Frontiercraft is still sputtering, I mean, I want to create something that people do like in a decent mass. Thanks for sticking with us, and I'll see you on the server. And please vote.